Hey everybody, welcome back to another great episode of Let's Get Creative. Now, as you already may know, this podcast is dedicated to following some of the most creatives from around the world. And if you stick around, you'll see the process and what it takes. Now, it's not always easy, but they will show you what their process is to getting through it.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode. We are here with a very special guest. And why don't you introduce yourself to everybody?
Hi, my name is Alondra Sanchez. I'm a horror screenwriter and actor, and I'm really excited to be here and talk about what I'm working on and what I'm passionate about.
That's what we always look for in people to interview, especially like people who are like deep into their craft, whether it be like, something as seemingly simple as like cooking to something as like complex, like maybe like screenwriting or, filmmaking, acting, etc. So that's exactly what we look for. Why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and your journey, a bit about your background and how that influences your work today?
Yeah, I'm from South Texas originally, and I grew up in a border town, grew up in a Mexican American family, just, hearing a lot of different stories and just the way that people's families ended up here and the things that they brought with them, the culture. And so I really loved everything about that. And then, of course, I loved performing and telling stories and being like the center of attention and putting on little like shows for my family.
Yes. Yeah.
I would do that like everywhere. I started doing it like in the middle of restaurants and like in the mall and stuff. And my parents were like mortified, but I guess that's kind of how I learned that I wanted to be an actor and a performer.
Yeah.
And just started kind of like making up my own stories based on the stuff I was hearing. And I love Halloween. I love horror movies. I love everything scary. So I just sort of combined those two things and started writing stories about where I come from and, the folklore and the like mythology and like the scary stories that I heard.
So rich and like it's just so deep, and it's honestly like I think that's such a good perspective. Like especially it's a very underrepresented, especially like me being Chicana as well. Like I've only seen like I don't know, I can only think of a few like horror movies that I think that were made by like Chicanas, like The Tigers Are Not Afraid or something. That's also another one that I really enjoy. But continue. I would love to hear more about just like your influences and like
It's so hard. It always changes, and I feel like part of the issue is that there's not necessarily like a Latina or a Latinx person doing what I want to do. Like there are people that
create your space, girl. Create your
yeah,
space.
say like from directing and acting and people that I can kind of pinpoint that I look up to and I like, but no one kind of doing the exact thing that I would like to do. And so I think that's, it's hard because if you haven't seen somebody do it, you don't know if you can. So it's kind of like paving your own path a little bit. But I guess in terms of like people that I look up to that I see doing it is I would say like Guillermo del Toro is a big one for me. I think his brand of horror is so unique and it's not so face, but it's always telling such a beautiful, like profound story. And he's really touching upon like social, political issues and certain time periods of like unrest, especially in Mexico because that's where he's from. And so I think I've learned a lot from him. And like Pan's Labyrinth was one of like the most groundbreaking movies for me when I was little.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
him for sure. And then I want to work in TV, so I would say someone who has like a similar career path would be like Issa Rae or like Quinta Brunson. So they do more kind of on the comedy side, but I really love how they kind of took making their own work and now they're showrunners and entrepreneurs and like just doing so many things.
Yeah. I was just about to say, like, going back to that social realism of like, bringing up issues and politics into your work. Like, that's just, I've noticed a pattern within Mexican new wave artists, like the big three, obviously. And I honestly feel like all of them have like a singularity of just wanting to show the classism, the racism, sexism, like within the, not only in like Mexico, but like in the world, just in general. So, but yeah, no, you work on a project with me called Funny's Not Dead, and I'm so blessed to have you as a writer. You are so like, I read your work and I always, I love it, how original and like your own voice it is. So I was curious about like the juxtaposition between horror and comedy. Like, what do you think? It shows a lot of range. That's what I think. But like, I want to hear your perspective. Like, what similarities can you tie to? What do you think?
I think like they're so different, but I do think they complement each other really well. And I think horror and comedy people just sort of like people who do one or the other like can do the other one. Like I don't think anyone expected like Jordan Peele when he was doing his like Comedy Central stuff that he would come out with such like profound and like terrifying movies and like have
Yeah.
some, and I think can't really have like horror, it needs the lightness, it needs the comedy thrown in there. It can't be so heavy the entire movie. And I think, with comedy, if it's just like if there's no story and it's just jokes back to back to back, I don't think it's always going to land. I think you have to like merge the two.
Mhm.
And I think they just work really well together, and I've really loved like diving into it. And I think everyone on Funny's Not Dead has really like they're just so on it, and it's helped me to really like learn to flex that muscle because I'd never done it before. But it's honestly really fun, and I think they really complement each other.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That's so great. Genre. So you're like a hybrid artist in every sense. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to like, when I see another Chicana like go for it, I'm like, yes, queen, let's let's go, let's take care of it. We're gonna be our own models or role models, you know what I mean, within the industry. So do you have any like projects that you're working on outside of like, you want to like talk about, or, maybe like say some of your influences and like what are you writing? What projects are you working on?
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm just working on my spec scripts, getting them ready for whatever happens next after the strikes, and seeing if that is a way in for me because I'm definitely still breaking in. But right
Mhm.
now I have two TV horror pilots that I'm working on, and one is very close to my heart. It's about, I won't get like too much into it because I know we don't have a lot of time, but one of them is like sort of that battle between like Catholicism and like colonization and what it did to indigenous people in Latin America. And so
Mhm.
like I don't get into it too much because I feel like I don't necessarily want to like trauma dump just to get the story told. And so I have a really cool horror script about that that's really, near and dear to me, because those are topics that I'm really passionate about.
That's great, like especially because I've never really like seen it before on the screen. So like hearing those ideas, it's like, oh yeah, that's another thing that we can, discuss about and bring into like important topics and themes into our work. Um, I was just curious if like what do you think? I know obviously like the strikes have had an effect on everybody, and I was just wondering like for you specifically, how has it affected you? I know like obviously Funny's Not Dead is like, stopped production at the moment. So we are definitely we're doing social media stuff, little aspects here and there. But yeah, no, I was just curious to hear your take on it.
I think for me, I really haven't like entered the business officially. I'm not like working in the business yet, and I'm not in the union. But I would like to be. So I've definitely been as much like standing in solidarity as I can with both SAG and the WGA because I'd like to be a member of both one day. And
Nice. Yeah.
yeah, supporting my friends and people that I've met that are striking right now, that are members. And I know that it's been really hard for them, actually like not having their jobs right now and being out there every day in the sun and dealing with, the studios blocking off sidewalks and all of the things that have, gone on. But I think for me personally, like the silver lining, I think has been like how much sort of like community has been built and how many like writers and like pre WGA writers have kind of come together, and they see the support that we're giving them, and they're paving the way for us. Like they're doing it as much for us as they are for them. And so that's been really nice, I think, to kind of, have some writers that have some free time and can kind of talk to you a little bit more and read your work and give you advice. And even though it's not ideal, but it's been really nice to kind of see that like there might be a better opportunity to kind of, you know, actually break in and see that it's not so scary, and that the members of the guild aren't, you know, they're
Yeah.
kind of like us.
Yeah, they're just people, you know. I mean, I feel like we put, you know, through parasocial relationships, we put people on a pedestal, especially like people who are in a position of influence. And it's just like it's we don't see the humanity them. It's like sometimes we objectify them and like, you know, put them see them as like more than human in some aspect, which is silly because everyone, you know, they're actors too, they're writers too, they're human beings too. And to see them like all come together in one spot for a cause is just like I think it's beautiful. It sees beyond like the structure, like the fame. It's beyond that at this point. But like I was curious what your okay, you don't have to choose right now. I know it's very on the spot, but like top 3 movies in general.
You know what? I actually just got asked this question, so I'm just gonna like
Yeah,
stay there.
go for it.
For me, it's Pan's Labyrinth. I know I've already mentioned it, but that's number one for me. And the Scream movies, the first Scream movie is like a big one for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then my third one, I'm gonna go non-horror. But I'm gonna say Clueless. Clueless was like
Oh.
it was so like it's so culturally relevant, but like for me, I loved it. And like I don't know, I'm like maybe I'll write like a teen like cult classic. Like maybe I'll just like switch it up and write something like that because I love those too.
Yeah, you like Heathers? I think you would like Heathers a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I want you 5 minutes. I want you to give out like your any like notes, any things that you have to help people who are not in the industry. Like if they have a dream, or they want to like, you know, I just like I words of encouragement basically. Like what are your thoughts like to those people who want to have a voice, you know?
I mean, I'm definitely still in the beginning of my career as well, and just also looking for a way and starting out. But I think it's like it's so cliche, but I really do have to say that it's like just really don't give up on it, because there's gonna be like so many reasons why. Like I'm from a small town in Texas, like nobody really does that or has like an understanding of it. Like everybody watches things, but they don't really know how it's made, or like really care that much how it's made. And like I was a first gen college student also, and like to go to school for film school for something that like was not stable, you know, necessarily like stable, I think that
Yeah,
was that
100%.
and your family can definitely like influence you and talk you out of it. But I think if that's what you want to do and any other job just sounds so boring and like unfulfilling to you, like you have to just do it, you have to go for it. And also don't let like your location or your financial situation get in the way, because there's so many workarounds. Like I have flown out to LA to do stuff for a few days. I've like done so much over Zoom. And like I mean I would like never have met Hope or like worked on F&D if there wasn't like Zoom and the opportunity for me to do it
Yeah.
for. So like don't worry so much about LA. Like that's still the end goal for me, and you can definitely make it happen, but like you don't have to just sit around until you have the money to move out there or you get a job that moves you out there. Like there's so much that you can do now, and like there's people that are willing to help. So I think that my advice would just be to like keep going. And like even if you don't think the opportunities are going to come, they are. Like just push through, just meet people, be really active on social media and put yourself out there, and you're gonna find the people and the opportunities. And yeah, just like just keep going. Like regardless, just keep going, even if it feels like it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel like that's, you know, having that determination really cuts people like from the people who are actually determined to make it in the industry versus people who, you know, it's a dream, it's out there, it's, you know, not tangible yet, but like that's just what it makes it or breaks it, you know, having that ambition and determination. So that's honestly like that's I know it sounds cliche, but it actually is true from my opinion as well. So it's like having that determination, everyone has to have that determination, unless they're obviously like nepo babies in which they just get handed shit, you know what I mean? But like everybody who has
Other
worked
whole other
I don't know why I just thought about that, and I'm like, because there's a lot of nepotism in Hollywood, so it's like, like uh, yeah. But anyway, that's for another day. But yeah, no, that's thank you so much. Any projects that you would want to keep on the lookout, or that you want to share quickly before we head off?
I mean, I'm just gonna shout out for sure Funny's Not Dead. Whenever we come back and we are able to put that out, hopefully people will watch. And yeah, I mean, F&D, and then also the Entertainment Business School, I'm gonna shout them out. Look them up on Twitter because I'm a part of that class right now, and it's taught by Kaya Alexander, who you can find on Twitter also, and she's so great at teaching you like the business side. Like, it's great to know the craft, but she's really good at teaching you like how to make deals and what certain things mean, and all of the like business behind what we do. So those are my two shout outs.
Nice. Thank you so much again. You are so amazing. I thank you for having, just taking the time to be here. So, but that's it. That's all for our show. And I will see you next time, and we'll see you soon later.
Yeah, thank you for having
Okay, cool.